What is an insider secret from your profession that everyone should probably know? So, projects don't fall behind because of tools or materials. 90% of delays come from some bad communication and people waiting on answers. Next story. From the Coast Guard. If you get swept out to sea or fall off of your boat in the middle of the ocean, you had better be wearing neon bright orange or yellow. Believe it or not, we are in the helicopters and planes looking for you with our literal eyeballs. You are a tiny speck surrounded by the navy blue water, so you had better be a bright orange speck and not a navy blue speck. One time we rescued someone who told us that we flew over him multiple times without seeing him before he remembered he had red board shorts on under his swimsuit. So he took those off and waved them at us. We saw the red and we were able to get him. Edit. Here are some other safety tips since this got a lot of views. Pointing plus throwing trash and items overboard when someone falls in the ocean is good advice that some people commented below. The trash creates a larger visual landmark so we can follow the trail of debris towards the person in the water. Also, if you are planning to go to the beach or go out on a boat, tell someone on land when you expect to be home by. And then obviously, if you're not home by then, the person should call it in that you're missing. We use this to create our search patterns using weather currents. It's a lot harder to create search patterns if we don't know what time you left and what time you were expected to get home. Okay guys, so you heard what I heard, right? You heard it? The Coast Guard said we can litter under the right circumstances. Go help that drowning person. Throw your car battery into the ocean. That's a joke. Last time I made the car battery joke, some people didn't realize that my high-pitched inflection and the silly whimsiness of my voice was indicative of a joke. Don't throw car batteries in the ocean. But anyway, next story. So, Costco upholds quality in the industry. The audit process for the quality/cleanliness that is the most relevant/present isn't governmental, but global quality schemes like SQF. Companies pay to be audited so they can show the results to customers that will make them buy. This means that if it wasn't for Costco having so much power and demanding so much from these auditing schemes, then the companies would get away with a lot more than they already do. Next story. As a teacher for 8 years with a minor degree in childhood and adolescent development psychology, your child is most likely a completely different person when at school as compared to how they are at home. When they're with you, they are the son, daughter, little brother, little sister, etc. At school, they fit into a different social hierarchy and can be either more or less assertive, involved when they are among children in their same age, and given a little more autonomy. Next story. If you are hosting an event on the weekend, arrange for a press release to local broadcast media to arrive via email that morning. Barring a major news story breaking, newsrooms are usually looking for content on the weekends, and sometimes the bar is lower for what they will cover. Send an earlier press release to the news director, but make sure one comes on Saturday or even Sunday morning if you're having an event or want publicity for some reason. Just make sure it's something visual and mention in the email those aspects of the event. I have had about a 99% success rate at getting at least one, if not all 3 of our local stations at my weekend events for many years. I even managed to get 2 stations in a different state to cover my mom's Cubs-themed 90 birthday party one year using this tactic. Next story. New clean clothing is handled by people who come to work sick because they need the money and sometimes don't wash their hands after they use the restroom. Well, we don't wash it before it ships. So, wash your new clothing before you wear it. Next story. Assisted living and other care facilities are owned by property investment companies. If they do not specify nursing or medical rehabilitation, they do not consider themselves medical facilities and will not have medically trained staff on site 24/7. If they aren't specifically a medical facility, they are not as well regulated and can staff at their discretion because there is no set minimum staffing requirements for investment properties in most states in the USA. There may be a nurse or two present during the day shift and on call for other shifts, but they will be severely underpaid, so they are more likely to be nurses who can get hired elsewhere for good reason. So, this means your grandparents may have 2 staff members taking care of 4 dozen people at night, and neither of them are CPR or first aid trained. And they are supposed to be catching up on laundry, cleaning, and dispensing medications, with a total of 6 days of training, as well as responding to every call light from bathroom assistants to falls with head injuries. Adult Protective Services dismiss most complaints because they can't justify shutting down facilities that deserve it when the residents have nowhere safer to go. So employees get thrown under the bus when things go wrong, and the facilities face little to no consequences for chronic understaffing, undertraining, and ignoring persistent problems. Next story. Librarians love giving you free stuff, and you can often borrow way more kinds of things than you think. If you're polite and the desk isn't slammed, you can ask us damn near anything. Even if we can't find the answer, we'll at the very least point you towards someone more likely to get you one. What we can do directly depends on the library, public or not, how well-funded, specialized, etc., but we can get creative. Also, there's interlibrary loans. If your library doesn't have a specific book, we can usually get it from another library at little to no cost to the patron. Or worldcat.org will tell you which libraries have what if you want to get it yourself. Next story. For tree work, do not hire anyone who has a business truck with the words landscaping and tree work on it. Someone who does landscaping does not know how to properly care for trees. There are a million ways to F up a tree, and they will show you one way. So hire a certified arborist or at least a business that only does tree work. They're more likely around it enough to understand how to care for them. Next story. I've worked in healthcare for 19 years. 17 years were as a first responder, and the last 2 have been in finance. Listen to me very carefully. You do not have to pay full price for any medical services you receive, especially for emergency treatment. Every hospital, whether they openly advertise it or not, has a finance department that offers things like free scaling, bill reduction, and bill itemization. Before you open a care credit account and put your medical debt on a high-interest credit card, before you put your balance on a payment plan with billing, before you do any of those wild things that will bury you even deeper into a pit, call your hospital, ask to speak to the finance department, and ask for a fee scaling or bill reduction. They will probably ask you for documents like ID, proof of address, and proof of income, but as long as you can prove your household income below a certain threshold, typically the federal poverty level, you are eligible for some level of financial assistance. The amount will vary based on where you fall on that scale on the FPL, but if your income is low enough or you can prove you're in a state of deep financial hardship, you have a high possibility of getting your bill reduced significantly, if not completely cleared. Do not pay full price for any medical care. Ask for financial assistance first. Y'all, I turned 28 this week. Why am I just learning about this? I went to high school, I went to middle school, I went to the one before that. I didn't know these things. I've never heard this. I believe something like this was alluded to in a video I recorded earlier this week or last week, but I didn't look into it. But this is the first time I've seen someone just straight up say, hey, give us a call, see what we can do for you. I hate healthcare in this country so much, but doesn't everybody? Anyway, next story. So, I am a medic. I don't personally care if you took drugs to have a good time. As long as you are safe while doing so, then that's fantastic. I just want to know the amount and what kind. This is so if something goes sideways, then I can try to fix it. Next story. Marketing communications professional insight here. Everything, and I mean everything you see online related to products or services and reviews and comparisons and best of or gift guide lists is pay to play. Every article in Wirecutter, Forbes, etc., and even smaller publications like Food and Wine or Mind Body Green was paid for or curated by the marketing team for that product/service. Every Instagram reel, TikTok, or YouTube video review of the product/service was preceded by a contract negotiation between the influencer and the company being promoted, as well as several rounds of edits from the marketing team. It is all bullcrap. Trust nothing that you read or see about a product. The only reliable info is real-world experience from people you actually know. Other than word of mouth, you're just being fed the exact info the corporate overlords want you to see. Merry Q4 revenue driver. I mean, Christmas. Alright, so I do believe that a lot of reviews and stuff like that and lists are paid for, but every single one that OP's referring to, I don't believe that. I'm not buying that. Also, if I recall correctly, in 2019 in the States, the FTC made it so where online, if something is a sponsored post, you have to say hashtag ad, advertisement, hashtag gifted, whether that be in a post or a live stream or a YouTube video or something like that. I'm sure some people choose to ignore that, but there are legal ramifications for those sort of things. So for when OP says everything, I'm not buying that. But I do think that there should be healthy skepticism in general on the internet. But anyway, next story. So, I am a licensed vet tech. We do not get kickbacks from food companies, drug companies. They do send us some free pens, but the amount of people who think I get paid to sell a certain product is baffling and rather sad. We care more than you think. Nobody is in this job for the money. Veterinarians, vet techs, vet assistants, receptionists, etc. do not make good money. I myself literally have a specialty credential and 2 jobs and barely make enough money to pay my bills. We cannot offer payment plans, etc. because people do not pay. I work in a privately owned hospital with an incredibly nice owner, and sometimes he will allow someone who's struggling to make payments. They often never do. The amount of unpaid services, open invoices, empty promises from clients that they will pay it all next month is astounding. People take advantage of this kindness and it's sad. Next story. Midwestern grain farmer here. This one is probably going to send a few people off of a cliff, but all of you that pay for organic food, it's usually not organic at all, and just a marketing loophole to get you city folks to pay more for the same crap. Yes, it is a very strict process getting the license for your farm to be certified U.S. organic by the government, but once you finally obtain that license, government checks are very slim, and guys get away with crap all of the time. Even the guys that continue to follow the rules closely are still allowed to use certain pesticides, and that is okayed by the U.S. government. So much marketing and trickery. Next story. 2 things about flying. Aircraft maintenance is constantly rushed, and while it is an absolute science, the technology is so advanced that sometimes it really doesn't seem to obey the rules. Things work when they shouldn't and break for no good reason. This means many of the systems on any given plane you might be on are working at barely functioning status. But the plane will be fine. Modern aircraft are so monumentally over-engineered for safety or flights that even on the most run-down aircraft, the most likely point of failure is the pilots. And bonus fact, airline pilots are notoriously overworked. Next story. Code blues in hospitals are often horribly traumatic for patients and families. Your 85-year-old loved one with a long list of diagnoses should probably be a DNR, do not resuscitate. American society is far too concerned with a quantity of life at the expense of quality of life. Next story. The number one thing people talk about/want when they are dying is their loved ones. Not one person talks about their money or possessions. Relationships matter most. Also, don't drive with a full bladder. If you get into an accident, it's more likely your bladder will rupture and that takes forever to heal. Next story. That there are more therapists than you would believe that should have never been allowed to mess with other people's psyche. Some are very mentally ill themselves. They harm rather than heal. Anybody who is good at school and has the money can get the degree and the license. I'm retired now, and looking back on what I have seen, there is a huge requirement that I believe needs to be a part of the certification process. Every candidate needs to undergo their own psychiatric assessment to see if they are fit for the job. This has to be done early enough to screen out the unfit interns that are already practicing under supervision while they work on their degree. So trust your human gut. If you're seeing someone and you do not feel a therapeutic connection, it probably isn't you. Find somebody else. Next story. I am a therapist. Lots and lots of therapists are crazy, but not in a good way. They have weird beliefs and promote their pet ideas to clients, especially in countries where their profession is unregulated. Their training could be wildly different from the next therapist. They likely have no idea about trauma-informed practice, neurodivergence, or working in anti-oppressive ways. Those therapists will harm clients in subtle ways. Extremely self-involved therapists might seem to be really effective, and they might charge a lot of money. And because of the well-documented phenomenon of client deference, unwillingness to change or oppose the therapist, these really damaging people never really get good feedback. When they do, they blame the client. There are also lots of good therapists, but it's difficult to identify them quickly because the best therapists are basically just good people. They have the right values, humility, openness. But you should know if you get a weird vibe about your therapist or don't feel psychologically safe with them, please trust your gut and find someone else to work with. It might take you a few tries to find the right therapist for you, and they may not be the most expensive or flashy person, but you'll know that they have your back. Next story. Worked in a department store in the men's clothing/footwear section. You'll see $100 Calvin Klein dress shirts and other name brand designer stuff. Look up the in-house brands of the department store. Macy's normally call theirs Alfani or INC, and they are identical in both material and cut. The difference is that it's an instant 40% cheaper without any difference. Maybe the only difference being it doesn't have a fancy label on the tag. Next story. Don't go into business with someone that you have a deep personal or familial relationship. Everyone should know this, but I guess it's an industry secret because I see it all of the time. Then you can have fairly bulletproof legal agreements, and that is helpful, but if someone you went into business with screws you over or stops playing by the rules, you will still have a huge problem. The second you step into the courtroom, win or lose, you're already a loser. Then, it's far more expensive to recreate account holding records than it is to keep them straight from the get-go. As well, many CPAs don't do significant tax planning for their clients, and most don't actually consider the economics of their client's business or provide any value-added insight into operations. Continuing, lots of successful business people are pretty clueless about money. Most are savvy enough, though. Then, if you get injured by someone who doesn't have assets or insurance, you're probably SOL. And larger law firms, consulting firms, etc. aren't always better. They undeniably have a deeper bench, but the work product can be sloppy because for it to be economical, lower-level staff have to do a majority of the work. Next story. The next time you make a call, choose the Continue the Call in Spanish option. Your call will go into a shorter bilingual queue, and your agent will still speak English because they are bilingual, and take calls in both English and Spanish. Source: 30 years in the call center industry reviewing regular versus bilingual call stats. Next story. Mechanical and electrical inspections don't catch everything, unless you're at NASA or similar, and even then, sometimes not everything. We're looking for whoa crap problems or things they'll likely turn into a big deal. Keep that in mind when you're getting on a roller coaster that sits outside all year, possibly near a salty sea, and is maintained and operated by teenagers. So, is that a rusty weld you're looking at, or is it painted over silicone? Who knows? It's probably fine though, right? They must have a team of guys who make sure it's safe. Yeah, right. Next story. Train driver. Don't run the effing crossing. Even if it looks like you have enough time, we move quicker than you think and take up 2 kilometers to stop. The train will win every time, and those 5 minutes you save aren't worth your life. Not to mention, train drivers are people too. I know people who hit someone and never return to the industry, and are never the same. Also, please don't try taking your own life via train. If you're that intent on dying, find a different way, but the drivers will carry your death on their conscience for the rest of their lives. Next story. I am a recruiter, and ageism is rampant in the workplace. It is the last completely tolerated prejudice. My clients openly rule candidates out for their age. You can be female, you can be black, you can be gay, but you better not be 50 plus. I see so many highly qualified people looking for work, but they can't get it because of their age. The hiring manager, 30s, doesn't feel comfortable having someone 20 years older reporting to them. Usually they feel threatened by the idea. Next story. The world is held together by duct tape, shoestrings, and the very small percentage of people who truly, deeply care about moving things forward. Your roads, your utilities are all held together by failures who didn't go to college, who work with their hands and have an immense amount of pride and the knowledge to back it up. Next story. Being kind to the call center employee could result in you being refunded 90% of your fees and interest. When you're being a jerk on the phone, you could be guaranteed everyone in the office knows your name and has looked at your account notes in prep for the day they finally have to deal with you. Also, you're rarely actually on hold. Usually you're just muted while the worker manages things on their end, so be careful what you say. And a lot of your government money is spent on schmoozing in the name of good relations. Next story. From 30 years in the restaurant business, you have no idea how much compliments are loved and how much a bad attitude hurts. I've literally seen servers, bartenders, bussers throat sobbing, going into deep depression, quit, and worse from an unruly guest. 95% of people are in that business because they are people-pleasing good folks, and it kills them when they can't make someone happy. Even in my years of dealing with everything horrible you can imagine, it keeps me up at night when I have a rough confrontation with a guest. But on the other hand, when you go out of your way to treat someone special, it is tremendously appreciated. At most restaurants I've worked at, we read TripAdvisor, Yelp, Google reviews in front of the staff, or post them for staff to see. The overall reaction, it's amazing. They are so proud to be mentioned. So it's not just a great grat that makes someone's day. Next story. I work for a major pharmaceutical company. The procedures and protections in place to prevent mistakes getting sent out to patients are genuinely amazing. I am impressed every day by the way that what we do and what we have to do is tracked and enforced. For example, recently, and no details because I don't want to get fired, a worker in an adjacent department made a huge error, violated procedures, and voided a batch. And rather than admit to his mistake, which in our company would have resulted in no punitive action, as we have policies in place to protect technicians who make innocent mistakes to incentivize them to be honest, he attempted to cover it up, and he was caught within the hour. What he was trying to do, it was illegal, immoral, dangerous, and impossible. I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but our procedures genuinely put my mind at ease. Next story. For the love of all that is good and holy, please have a professional email address on your resume. first name dot last name at whatever. The number of emails I've seen in my time in HR and recruiting, like Butterfinger69, Uncut Black 9-inch, this guy's last name was Little, which makes this one funnier, and Princess Kitty 420, yeah, those are real. Next story. I used to be a prosecutor, and now I'm a criminal defense attorney. 90% of my cases are with the same 5 prosecutors. We talk, we know about each other's families, we trash talk sports. Obviously, during court, we fight for our sides, but we don't hate each other. Some exceptions apply, though. So just because clients see me being nice to them doesn't mean my priority is towards said clients. Next story. Even though your package says fragile on it, and even though a clerk or carrier takes great care when handling that package, the rest of the people handling that package throw that crap around like it's a baseball. Moral to the story, put lots and lots of packing material around something that's fragile when packing a box. Next story. Retired teacher here, sorry if this has been posted, public education only. If you have a problem with your child's school, find out the school system official grievance policy and follow it to the letter. They sometimes make the policy hard to find, but you can request it. And going to the principal and saying your child is having a problem is not enough. You must follow the official policy so that they are forced to follow the policy. It puts them on deadlines for responses, and it lets them know you know your rights. For example, in my case, this one parent had to state verbally, "This is your notice that I'm filing a grievance." And bam! School system locked in and must begin handling it with everything documented and timed. I filed 2 grievances myself while working for the school system that my children are in, and I helped several other staff members and parents file grievances. We all won our grievances after we had been told we would never win. The magic grievance word worked every time. Administration likes it to be kept secret, though. Sorry for the long rant, but I tell everyone I know, power to the people. Next story. My feeling towards your child and their grades are completely unrelated. I don't have time or energy enough to plot against your kid. 95% of the parents I need to see on interview night are not the ones requesting interviews or coming in. I will teach your child that everyone is allowed to love who they love and be who they are, and that we should always be more empathetic. You want to call that woke? I don't care, because if that's how you are, your kid is coming out to me first a lot more often than they come up to you. And it's my goal to make them feel good about who they are, and not make them feel ashamed because you're an a-hole. And notes written by students, those are the gifts that I keep. I don't need another mug. When you send your kids to school sick, I get sick. When I'm sick, I'm not coming to school, and there's a good chance my supply will have no idea what they're going to do, because most of the great supplies are already in long-term supply positions by this point in the year. So keep sick kids home. Grades, especially in middle school too, are effing meaningless. Stop berating your kids for getting a mark less than you think they should have. Make good people first, good thinkers second, and good learners third. The rest will come. Next story. Take advantage of free consultations with therapists. Find someone you can vibe with. You don't have to share your deep, dark secrets with them right away. Just see how they sound and respond to your questions. Because once you get there, you mostly talk about yourself, so this is a good chance to get to know who you're talking to. Studies show that the client-therapist relationship is the best predictor of final outcomes, and it's well worth the 10 to 20 minutes. Next story. Rock and roll roadie. Sex and drugs backstage is a thing of the past. This is a business. Safety is no effing joke, and I'm too tired and I just want to sleep. And when the artist says, "Hello, Cleveland," the word Cleveland is tapped to his monitor. When you get a backstage pass and you're walking around and partying, every roadie hates you and wants you to leave. None of the stuff you throw on stage gets seen by the artist, by the way. We throw it all out during loadout. And crowd energy and excitement is a thing. If the audience is enjoying it, the artist knows, and you get a much better show. Next story. Enable MFA on everything you can. And for the love of all things holy, don't use your phone number as the second method of authentication. Use a third-party authenticator app like Google or Microsoft or Duo. It's a pain in the ass, but having your bank account compromised even once is more of a pain in the ass. Next story. I work for the government, not as a government employee, but as a contractor. There is a lot of waste, abuse, and laziness that's ballooning the federal budget, and since that money is borrowed, the national debt. It's not on the part of government employees, it's the contractors. They not only take up the lion's share of the spending bill, but are all giant multi-billion-dollar companies. People talk about how the F-35 cost over $406 billion by the time it was built. It's not $406 billion of stuff, which would likely be an entire city. It's money for contractors and the companies that hire them. It's maybe $150 billion of stuff, $50 billion of salaries for the people engineering and building the stuff, and $200 billion of profit for the companies involved in the multiple levels of management in overseeing the project, all of whom's salaries are paid by the taxpayer. Then, the whole Doge thing was a farce, or at least ill-guided. They were looking to cut government staff, people who were employed directly by the government. That's not where even 10% of the savings potential is, though. But since all of those companies sucking down the money are paid up well with the right people, the pink slips are never going to get sent their way. Me, I got brought on from a third-party company to install something high-tech for the government. I'm being deliberately vague here. And when I started, I was walking into a can of worms. But within a year, I was not only completing my initial job, but had gone on to revolutionize several key systems within the government's technology infrastructure. And it was only after the bulk of the work was done that I found out the reason it was so politically divisive when my team started was because there was already a company contracted on a long-term basis to maintain the existing infrastructure and do upgrades like what I had just done, basically by myself. They had a contract which was for a minimum of 10 years at $1 billion per year. Their engineers, an entire team of like 30 plus people, including managers, were just sitting around doing nothing unless something broke. Then they would fix it until it was working again, but not figure out why it broke or how to prevent the issue in the future, nor planning for upgrades when the stuff they had eventually got too old. It was already actually old past its useful lifetime when I got there, but they only sprung into action if someone higher up in the government, the customer, complained. They had like a decade to plan the upgrades and nothing had been done until I got there. They had actually told the higher-ups that it was impossible. I've been on multiple contracts since I've been in this line of work. They are all more or less like this. There are individuals that are skilled and driven within the system, but it's really hard to try and defy the sheer amount of institutional momentum to have things stay the same as they are. I've felt this myself and made enemies going against it. Why you want to work so hard was funny when it was from a Chappelle Show skit and they were working at Good Burger, but it's downright strange and scary to see the same attitude from supposed professionals in a corporate setting. I wouldn't do this job if I didn't think I was providing value and doing something to benefit the government and therefore the country, but what I realized was, for most people working there, it was just a paycheck. The money comes in the same whether work gets done or not. The government isn't going to go out of business. Next story. People are entirely different humans when they are online. Honorable mention to when they are dealing with frontline workers. I moderate a Facebook page for a company and deal with DMs, and 9 times out of 10 when I look at someone's profile page after if they've sent the most vile crap, they have some picture or saying in their bio that is a variation of how kindness will get you ahead, or maybe something about Christ's forgiveness. Next story. I am a nurse, and if you are capable of reading this, then you are probably capable of knowing what medications you take and when you take them. It is important that you do, and you write it down if you have trouble remembering it correctly. And if you're in the hospital, ask questions about what we are giving you and do your best to understand what the plan for your care is. Have us explain it to you. Try to do everything you are able to do. Don't be self-limiting, but also advocate for yourself if something is wrong and the care team hasn't solved the problem. Next story. I am a dog groomer. If I consistently get your dog in matted and you make up excuses after I've explained how to keep their coat nice and tangle-free, I will not save your dog's coat. I will instead shave it all the way down to give your poor pup a break from constantly being in pain. No, it's not easier for me or my equipment, and it can be quite dangerous for your dog, but humanity over vanity, especially if I've given you chances to fix the problem. If I can get a longer blade through at that point, I will usually choose a 10 blade, and you can be as angry as you want, but at least your dog will feel better for a while. Next story. I work in marketing. Anytime you want to make a non-emergency purchase, especially a bigger one, add it to your cart, fill out the checkout info, and then leave it for a day or two. Many e-commerce shops have automation set up that will send you a discount code if you abandon checkout. Next story. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of medical students. I've never met a medical student who didn't go into this with a desperate desire to help people, to give back and be the best they could be for their future patients. I'm convinced that 99.9% of bad apples are not born, but created by the absolutely effed up medical system. And the general population blaming most of the effed up medical system on the doctor and not the insurance companies or pharmaceuticals or hospital admin or governments that keep the system grinding backwards every day. Next story. I am an ethical hacker. I've learned these 2 types of people in the world. Those who aren't aware they've already lost their right to privacy, and those who are fighting to get it back. Put a little black piece of electrical tape over your phone or laptop cameras when you aren't using them. Get rid of your IoT devices. Stop connecting to public Wi-Fi. The list goes on and on. And if you think you're immune to being stalked in your home, you're not living in the real world. You might think those security cameras in your house are keeping you safe, but one little vulnerability in that camera and some piece of crap knows where your family sleeps at night. It's infuriating, it's disgusting to think about, and deterring this from happening is the absolute biggest reason I've chosen to be in this field. The innocent people naive to these risks, they deserve better. So I looked up what IoT devices are, as OP didn't explain. They're kind of like things that interact with the world and connect to the internet. Internet of Things is what IoT stands for. So I guess Alexa is an IoT device, or a smart thermostat. I don't know, like a device that interacts with the world that can connect to the internet. It was really quick and Bing wasn't helpful, but just, I don't like Alexa. Next story. Most security guards, they aren't jerks who think they're cops. They become that stereotype from people treating them as such. Most of the time, the snaps and rudeness is easy to brush off, but it is still hurtful. For the most part, though, we want to help. For example, there's a car in the parking lot of your empty site at 9 p.m. If a security guard waves or knocks, we want to know if you have car trouble, or have gotten lost, or if you need directions, or maybe you're too tired to drive safely, need to rest, or are having a mental health crisis. Whatever the reason is, we want to make it better. Please be nice to the guards, especially around the holidays. We are working double shifts, and we miss our families too. Next story. I am a business owner. When I show up to give you an estimate for my services, I'm giving you a cost that includes my wage and my overhead. My wage is what I make so that I can be a functional member of society. Overhead is everything that is an expense of what it costs to run my business. Wage covers things like rent, mortgage, groceries, health insurance, car payments, repairs, etc. Overhead is business insurance, rentals, tech, auto payments, and insurance, taxes, business income profit, money that grows the business, contingency, paying employees, etc. For the most part, these are non-negotiable items. Overhead can vary from business to business, but it's always there. So asking me for a discount or arguing with me about how you have a guy that can do it cheaper is moot. The prices I charge are what I need to charge to run and grow my business and take care of my family. If you ask for a discount, it has to come out of somewhere. Since my business overhead is totally non-negotiable, the discount usually means I make less wage on the job, which then affects my ability to take care of my family, because taking care of my family is my number one priority. You probably aren't going to get a discount. Big corporations, they are different than small businesses. Their profit margins are so high that they can take a hit with little repercussions. Small businesses, on the other hand, cannot offer discounts without major repercussions. Next story. If you want to buy someone flowers and the prices are too high, bring your own vase to the shop and ask them to do a florist's choice up to whatever cost you can afford. You can still pick colors or a certain flower you want included. Just know certain high-dollar flowers like orchids are not going to be realistic to request if your cap is low. And this only really works with walk-ins. You can't order something like this online or have it shipped outside the shop's local delivery radius. But yeah, a big part of the cost is the vase, especially when buying from Teleflora, FTD, the big national floral companies. Shops have to order their expensive-ass vases to fill those orders, so a stupid amount of the total cost is often nothing but vase. You can get way nicer arrangements if the cost is nothing but flowers and time. Next story. So this one is kind of hard to describe. If you go to a hospital, you are at the mercy of whoever is on at that particular moment. For example, say you go in and they say you are having a heart attack. They will take you to the cath lab to try to open up your coronaries. You have very little insight into the performance and outcomes of the cardiologist who is about to do an honestly very invasive procedure that carries a high amount of potential risk. I've seen so many patients get truly effed up by a marginally competent or incompetent doctor. Those of us in the hospital definitely all have lists of people who are and are not allowed to touch us and our families. It pays to do a little research, but so much of how you are going to do and whether you survive is up to chance. Next story. Taking an ambulance to an emergency room for a minor issue does not get you seen faster. You can go straight from the ambulance stretcher to a chair in the waiting room. Ambulances will not drive lights and sirens to the hospital for minor issues either. It will actually take longer. There is also a massive nationwide shortage of EMTs and paramedics. Most EMS emergencies run 20 to 50% down on staffing with people working overtime. So you are going to wait even longer for an ambulance. In some cases, you could have gotten to the hospital on your own faster than the ambulance gets to the place where you called from. Next story. I am a line cook. That little trick customers do where they ask for fries with no salt so they get them straight out of the fryer is probably one of the most annoying parts of the job. Here's the insider knowledge: most restaurants cycle batches of fries frequently to keep them fresh. And if it's busy, they go so fast anyway, your fries are going to be fresh. If you get cold fries, it's because FOH was too busy to bring the food on time. When you ask for no salt fries, a lot of times we take the salted fries out of the warmer, dip them in the fryer oil to get the salt off, and put them on the plate so you can salt them again yourself. Just so you know. Next story. Therapist here. We more than likely won't get rid of your problems. If you have trauma, especially in your childhood, your body is hardwired for stress. That could take a lifetime to rewire. Toxic family members will continue to be toxic, but we can make you more able to handle it. I think a lot of people don't realize this when they come to therapy. Next story. You should never tie your personal value to whether or not you get a promotion. 99% of people in senior leadership positions are incompetent, unintelligent Nepo babies who happen to be good at BS. They spend their days talking about which PowerPoints and graphics they like and add zero real value to the companies they work for. Individual contributors and team managers are the only folks doing any actual good work. Next story. We can take your scans and see what is wrong with you. As radiographers in X-ray, we know that none is broken. We know you have a collapsed lung. In CT, we know you are a 25-year-old who has cancer. Or know that you are someone who is on remission who has cancer again and it has spread. Or that your relative has a bleed on the brain, or that there is something seriously wrong with your baby or child. But we can never tell you any of this because we legally/professionally can't/shouldn't. And sometimes this is one of the hardest parts of the job, going back into the room and being like, "Yep, your scans are all done," with a smile and a little chit-chat knowing something awful. Next story. You almost never ever work with a retail lender offering a mortgage. Always go with a local credit union or a mortgage broker. The amount of money that you will save on fees and interest rates will shock you. Do not be afraid to shop your pricing and have your credit ran at multiple lenders. And when applying for a mortgage, if you run a hard credit inquiry to get an approval, you can continue to have your credit ran for a mortgage inquiry for 45 days without it affecting your score, allowing you to shop your pricing. Next story. I work in dentistry. Root canals actually have a great success rate, 90% plus over 10 years. Salahrabi 2004. However, due to its inherent difficulty, more than 50% of general dentists are not able to do them adequately, leading to failure. If you need a root canal, I recommend you looking for an endodontist. An endodontist is a specialist dentist for root canal procedures. You don't go to a family doctor for your heart surgeries, you go see a heart surgeon. Next story. Here's an inside secret from me, a labor and delivery nurse. When you're pregnant and come to the hospital either in labor or to be induced, you're going to be seeing my face 99% of the time. The doctor might come by to see you face to face for maybe a few minutes, but I am the one who starts your IV, your pitocin, I'm the one who stares at your contractions and baby's heart rate on the monitoring strip for hours on end. I'm constantly assessing these things to decide what we/you do next, whether it's increase the pitocin, turn you on your side, or stop everything altogether in case your unborn baby is just not tolerating the stress it's being put under. I'm the one who knows if your baby maybe has the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck, or if your placenta is insufficient, or if your baby's head is being squeezed by your birthing canal, just by looking at your monitoring strip. I do this constantly. And I do the cervical checks too. I'm the one you're hanging on to for dear life when the anesthesiologist is trying to place your epidural and is maybe not being the most compassionate person. You have your arms around my neck and I coach you through the contractions that you're barely able to fight through. When your cervix fully dilates, I'm the one who places your feet in the stirrups. I'm the one who coaches you on how and when to push. If you do poop while you're pushing, which is normal, I'm the one who cleans you. And then, right as your baby is +2 or so station, I call the doctor in and they deliver. It takes absolutely no time, assuming there aren't complications. Then the doctor leaves. It's just us. I continue to monitor your bleeding, your vital signs, and a lot of the time, your newborn. Labor nurses do most of the work to try to manage your labor. And guess what? If the doctor doesn't make it in time, I'm delivering your kid too. The amount of people I have to tell me that they were shocked that the doctor spent so little time in the room during the entire process always floors me. Next story. People in safety roles tell you they want everybody to be safe. In reality, they are rarely actually concerned with this and are infinitely more concerned whether or not the company's policies, paperwork and documentation protect the company properly in the event that somebody is injured. We were doing new work that involved chemical particulates. They gave us dust masks, not respirators, not even N95s, just dust masks like you'd use for gardening or something. Why? Because thanks to COVID, we had leftover policies in place that said that in order to be equipped with a respirator or N95, we had to go through a fitting process to ensure a hermetic seal on our face, adequate protection, no hindrance to respiration, etc. So, because they didn't want to have a dozen people go through this fitting process, they just conveniently declared that the hazard was negligible, gave us the dust masks, and actually forbade us from wearing N95s we attained on our own because we weren't signed off on their usage. Obviously, nobody wants anybody else to go home with several fingers missing or a broken bone, but typically when we hear about an injury that occurred, there's virtually zero concern over the well-being of the individual, and instead nothing but groaning and about what sort of follow-up and paperwork and whatnot that it will cause. Next story. As a former educator, when it comes to standardized tests, your zip code is directly correlated to test scores. Kids in higher income neighborhoods perform better than those in poor communities. As the saying goes, rich kids get taught and poor kids get tested. Instead of focusing on test scores, we should address the real issue: poverty and income inequality. Next story. IT dude here. 35 years of experience. For the love of God, restart your devices. Notebooks work for weeks on end, never restart. Users complaining browser is not working anymore. Restart the notebook. Restart your iPhone if it is giving you problems, and you didn't restart it like for 6 months. Restart your printer if it is giving you problems. Restart your router if Wi-Fi is not working. Whatever problem you have with any IT device, first thing, restart it. It solves 95% of problems, and when you call an IT person, the first thing he will do is say, restart your device. You're welcome. Next story. You aren't being helpful by working extra for free or through lunch. You're hurting yourself, your coworkers, and everyone who comes after. Also, even electricians are terrified of working live. Please don't think you're special and try to do your own electrical work, especially if you don't have a meter. Next story. Physician here. After having gone through medical school and residency and later training residence, I can confidently say that not all doctors are created equal. There are some that are frankly dangerous, and I fear for the safety of their patients. So be careful who you place your trust in. Also, there are stigmas about where a person went to medical school. The Caribbean schools and other foreign schools get a bad rap, but some of the best doctors I've ever met went to school there. It's really all about residency training and how hard they worked. I went to an MD program in the US, and I know doctors that I would trust more than I trust myself that went to schools in the Caribbean. It's all about the individual. Next story. I work in construction and remodeling as a kitchen and bath designer for 25 plus years. A few quick tips if you're renovating either of these rooms. Drawers instead of base cabinets for everything but the kitchen sink. Whether you're young or old, spend extra to have nice wide drawers instead. They are easier for kids to use, so you teach them to help put stuff away. They are necessary for older or wheelchair-bound folks to continue to function in their own home. They are easier to organize as well. Your stuff comes to you rather than you scrambling on your knees to find stuff. Then light bulbs need to be in the neutral 3000-ish range. No matter where they go, this keeps your house looking updated and not dingy. Also, put dimmers on almost every light source. Continuing, laminate counters and backsplash are a great way to stretch your budget in a kitchen or bath remodel. When you finally get the cash for a fancy countertop, they are very easy to remove and replace with little damage. Then motion sensor, battery-powered lights, they even have them at the dollar stores now. Pantry, closets, cabinets, linen closets, vanity stairs, anywhere and everywhere. They greatly improve your quality of life. And if your wall cabinets don't reach the ceiling, splurge on a roll of press and seal. Replace it once a year and you'll never have to worry about dust or bugs. I have other tips, but these will make your life just that little bit better. Next story. There is no special workout program to make you healthy. 99% of what you need is consistency with exercise. Find something that challenges your muscles a few days a week that you can at least tolerate and watch the magic happen. Think of it like investing in compound interest. It takes just a little every day over a long period of time. Next story. Store brand/generic products at the grocery store are often literally the same exact product from the same company as the name brand. They just swap out the label. The store has contracts with some of these companies to do this and sell more of their same product at a discount without their label. And this often results in more profits for everyone because the manufacturer can sell lower volume at higher margin and higher volume in lower margin to different shoppers. But check the store brand nutritional label. If it seems the same as the name brand, it probably is. Literally. Next story. I'm a nurse who's worked in hospitals and nursing homes. There is not a single nurse who would willingly live in a nursing home. Nursing homes in the United States are almost universally understaffed. The residents who are dependent on staff for helping get dressed and having diapers changed are probably getting cleaned once a shift. It is normal for residents who can't speak for themselves to sit and pee or poop for hours. Most nurses will tell you they would rather off themselves than be placed in an American nursing home. Alright, y'all, so nursing homes have taken like 2, maybe 3 L's in this video, so what is the lesson here? Saul Goodman was correct to sue Sandpiper Crossing. Why? Because they were scamming old people and their clients, okay? Down with retirement homes. Just let old people wander the streets and have a little fun. Anyway, next story. So, tech support is effed, and it's not the support agent that's the problem. AI slop is in everything. Nobody in the younger group knows how to write a formal email without ChatGPT or the Microsoft AI. We have to run everything through the AI first before coming to a solution, no matter how obvious. And it's wrong enough times to make our processes even lengthier just to correct the AI mistakes. It's bad enough to deal with the low wages, but the job itself is an exercise in mental torture on top of that. Alright, I don't normally do commentary back to back, but I would just like to say I hate AI. We here at Undersparked don't do AI. None of the 4 narrators, some people don't even know there's 4, are AI. I'm sorry, I just had to get it off my chest, and if there's an opportunity, I'm taking it. But anyway, next story. Network engineer here. You almost certainly don't need a VPN. No one cares what you're doing. Yes, we could potentially, depending on which protocols are being used, see what websites you're going to or what you're downloading, etc., but no one cares. The VPN ads you are seeing are just trying to manipulate you into wasting money. There are some legitimate reasons for a VPN. If you fall into one of the below categories, go for it. Otherwise, skip the VPN. You are trying to hide your activity from state-sanctioned intelligence agencies, NSA, CIA, FSB, Mossad, etc. If they care enough, even a VPN isn't going to be good enough. Then you are using a VPN to get through your company's firewall so that you can access internal resources. Use the VPN your company tells you to use. Then you are trying to get around the region block. Just use any VPN whose servers are in a country that is allowed. Only use the VPN for that specific purpose, never anything else. Your local network is likely more trustworthy. And by legitimate, I don't necessarily mean legal. I mean a reason where you actually have a reason to use a VPN. Alright everybody, so this video is brought to you by Circumcised VPN. Make sure to use code UNDERSPARKED for 50% off your first circumcision online. VPNs, they're like the condoms of the internet. That's how Philip DeFranco put it. Also, that's a joke for any legal reasons. But anyway, guys, I didn't realize that this was the last story, but we're at the end. Thank you all so much for watching, commenting. Have a really good day, and bye-bye!